One of our brethren some years ago spoke of the payment of tithing as fire insurance. Nonetheless, the word of the Lord is clear that those who do not keep the commandments and observe the laws of God shall be burned at the time of his coming. For that shall be a day of judgment, a day of sifting, a day of separating the good from the evil. I would venture a personal opinion that no event has occurred in all the history of the earth as dreadful as will be the day of the second coming, as fraught with the destructive forces of nature, as consequential for the nations of the earth, as terrible for the wicked, and as wonderful for the righteous.
While we are powerless to alter the fact of the second coming, denied by the wicked, stakes of Zion are for a defense and for a refuge from the storm and from wrath, when it shall be poured out without measure upon the whole earth.
This morning, new texts reveal the involvement Utah Senator Mike Lee had in efforts to contest the results of the 2020 election.
John Franke has more on what we're learning about what happened shortly after President Biden was declared the winner.
Yeah, those messages are between Senator Mike Lee and then President Trump's Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows. They begin on November 7th, just after the 2020 election, and last through January 4th, 2 days before the insurrection at the nation's capital. Now, on December 8th, according to those messages obtained by CNN, Senator Lee suggests that certain states could appoint alternate electoral college delegates contrary to the verified election results in those states like Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. He writes, quote, "If a very small handful of states were to have their legislatures appoint alternative slates of delegates, there could be a path."
As Travis Wingutzel, as Trinitarian and Mormon non-Trinitarian Christians believe, Jerusalem will be destroyed at the second coming of Trinitarian or non-Trinitarian Jesus, who comes from outer space. Trinitarian Jesus comes on a flying white horse. Non-Trinitarian Jesus doesn't need the horse. There is a distinct difference. Got to get them right. And so the views of how the second coming is going to happen obviously is different between Christian and non-Trinitarian Mormonism. And unfortunately, Christians, you're going to be proven wrong. Sorry. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is the cause of it. In that edition, pages 290 and 291. I've done the videos ever since I found it, because I've known the Mormon myth about Adam-on-Diamond. So when I found the source, I went, oh crap, there's some missing information from that. In 1887, Congress, and thus the President, signed into law the Edmunds-Tucker Act. It forbids any religious organization as claiming the use of tithing to commit criminal activity. And in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, with under Brigham Young, the act of polygamy tied to tithing was forbidden. And so there's some concerning things. Why then did the United States government, denying John Taylor's prophecies of polygamy, had to have them taken out, but allowed to remain Section 119 on tithing and Section 132 on polygamy? The answer is simple. They both claim to be from Joseph Smith. So the United States let it go, but not John Taylor. The temple created by Brigham Young with his endowment ceremony had to cease polygamy, had to cease the sealings of polygamy. And so thus it was changed to the law of chastity rather than the law of marriage. The church, under President Russell M. Nelson, Marion, you should remember to keep saying Marion. Russell Marion, baby name meaning, look it up. Who is Mars married to? And what's her symbol? And so what's going on here? What's up? Because again, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is plotting to overthrow the government of the United States, to resume polygamy and tithing. Section 119. Mormons are required to give all their surplus property for the building of temples, for resurrecting Zion, well, building up Zion, that's lay the foundation of Zion, millennial Zion, and for the priesthood and the debts of the presidency. What does it mean to pay priesthood leaders for preaching? It's an exclusive Book of Mormon thing. It's called priestcraft. Right there in verse 2 of section 119. Completely in violation of the Book of Mormon. And then he goes on to say that's the beginning of tithing. Now you have to pay more. Verse 4. After that, those who have been tithed shall now pay an additional 1/10 of their interest. We just gave you all of our surplus. Annually. And thus we've always had, until Nelson changed the name, tithing settlement, where we tell the church that we are faithful and true in being a full tithe payer. But this is not Joseph's. It says it is. And it was put in the 1844 edition of the Doctrine and Covenants, after Joseph died and Brigham Young assumed authority. Could that be a clue? Yeah. Because in section 64, Joseph tells us his version of tithing. And verse 23. Behold, now it is called today until the coming of the Son of Man. So, non-Trinitarian Jesus, right? And verily it is a day of sacrifice, and a day for the tithing of my people. For he that is tithed shall not be burned at his coming. That sounds like it comes from Malachi. For after today cometh the burning. This is speaking after the manner of the Lord. For verily I say, tomorrow all the proud and they that do wickedly shall be as stubble. And I will burn them up. For I am the Lord of hosts, and I will not spare Mormons who remain in Utah. So it is kind of ironic, as I just did the video and uploaded it, and as I was listening to it, because I've got to trigger the algorithm for you. As I'm talking about the movie set of the church down in central Utah of Jerusalem. They recreated Jerusalem there in central Utah. So Jerusalem is in Utah, which is phonetically the same as Judah. Jerusalem is in Judah. And on the 14th of October, 2023, the sun god at noonday is going to be eclipsed and cast his shadow on the United States, which anciently means death. I did the video. I even put the link in the description, pinned it for you, so that you can reference it, so that you know that what I'm saying is accurate. It passes over Jerusalem in Judah. And so yes, Jerusalem will be destroyed. That just blows my mind. And so I've already done the videos that Temple Square, it's got the inverted pentagram of Lucifer on it, of the Danites, and there's the Lion House, where those who get their wedding sealing performed in the Danite temple have their wedding supper feast at the Lion House, next to the Beehive House. Anybody know your Bible stories from the book of Judges concerning the Sun King, Samson? It just blows my mind. And yet, not a single Mormon believes it. Nope. Church is true. Non-Trinitarian Jesus. Fire insurance. See, the church, by putting in their tithing protection racket, an extortion of Mormons for criminal activity of polygamy and other crimes, have imposed that upon Section 64, which has to do with Malachi. And so in tithing settlement, the bishop quotes Malachi. Will a man rob God? Yet ye have robbed me in tithes and offerings. Bring all the tithes into the storehouse for the poor, and I will open up the windows of heaven. Yes, that's rain for your crops, so that you can then give more tithing. But it's also revelation. For what? Malachi tells you. Joseph just told you. so that you would know the signs in the heavens of the day and the hour of his coming, and will hearken to him and be saved from the burning by getting the hell out of Utah. And yet Oaks came out and said, steak centers. You know, not the magic underwear. No. I mean, Marriott, John Marriott, I believe is his name. The Marriott hotels. He's now dead, but his son is now in charge of it, I believe. And refused to pull out of Russia as other American companies pulled out of Russia. He was quoted. I have the video. Our magical underwear protects us from burning. But Oaks, nope, garments aren't good enough. You need an extra layer of protection by being in a steak center. Oh my God. Now, and then polygamy. Joseph Smith had in monogamy a whole chapter dedicated to monogamy. But Section 132 just magically appeared the year before he died and did a final edition of his Doctrine and Covenants and removed polygamy and removed monogamy and put in polygamy. And in order to do that, he put it in Section 132 after Section 131, which Joseph Smith Papers reveals he gutted Joseph Smith talking to a monogamous couple about how they, as a monogamous couple, will be exalted in the highest degree of the celestial kingdom. So that's got to go. That will ruin everything. Yeah. Because all you see is the everlasting covenant. And then, boom, Section 132. Here's the everlasting covenant, polygamy. Not this monogamy of Joseph. And they forged documents. Sealing documents were forged. And they did a whole smear campaign on Joseph, the founder, whom they claim authority from. Because there's more that they claim, but blame Joseph for, which had nothing to do with Joseph. Like authority. Why is it that not just Brigham Young, but every single apostle are now prophets, seers, revelators, and that's it? Because they don't like translation. They don't want it. That's Jewish and Egyptian stuff. They're white supremacists. They're Danites of Samson. And so Hinckley comes out and talks about this protection racket of tithing fire insurance, but blames another Mormon for recognizing that that's exactly what it is. And every Mormon knows it. Every Mormon's been saying it all these decades. I've known it as that because I was told in my youth, tithing is fire insurance. And when I turned 8 years old, I now had to pay fire insurance. And so how is it going to protect me? Just paying money protects me? No, Mormons assume the president of the church will tell Mormons who are listening and thus are paying a full tithe, because if you don't pay a full tithe, you're apostate corahors and you leave the church and you don't listen anymore. That he will save us so that we won't get burned. And then if Salt Lake City is under threat, he will announce we need to leave because Utah is going to be destroyed. All right? True and living prophet of non-Trinitarian Jesus. Do the little foolish virgins yesterday, do they know we're non-Trinitarian? Will they know to tell the Fort Collins citizens that that's who we are? I'm sure it's probably all Mormon anyway. We've got the Fort Collins temple there. Thus the thumbnail picture. I did my research. Because yes, I am concerned that as we head out with the fact that Oakes tells us, I need to know who to rescue. So, yeah, they're innocent little lammies. Got that from the second X. Room number 13. She did indeed cut my hair and betray me. But that was her thing. Little lammy. Because she found it amusing when I did my lamb impersonation. Yeah, she's responsible for my #1 video. She demanded to know when are we leaving, because I don't want to walk. But Hinckley goes on to say that it's not fire insurance. He won't acknowledge it. He says it, quoting the other person, but that is his acknowledgement of it. He won't come out and say it at the pulpit of conference, because if he did, like Nelson saying that tithing is question number 10 on our worthiness interviews to enter the temple at the pulpit of conference. Oops, he did, didn't he? That would be criminal. He'd be declaring openly, we're committing crimes. Thus, the United States denied John Taylor his polygamy revelations because they're in violation of the law. But Joseph Smith was prior to the law, and therefore they can remain. But Brigham Young knew of this because of the Bill of Rights. You cannot be convicted twice for the same thing. And so it's been understood that you cannot be convicted, is it post hoc? Is that what it's called? After the fact? Occurring or done after the event. It's not quite. Latin term for prosecution of crimes committed ex post facto, from a thing done afterward. Yeah. So if you commit a crime, but it's not on the books, and then the government comes out with a law saying you can't do this particular action, therefore it's illegal. You can't go after people after the fact. So when the government signed the Edmunds-Tucker Act, the church was required from that moment to cease and desist all criminal activities that violate that act. And they refused, and thus were locked up. John Taylor died in prison. That needs to be understood. And so for Hinckley to come out as an apostle, he would be getting the church in trouble. He doesn't want to get the church in trouble. He has to fulfill his foreordained destiny to be the president of the church and to establish the family proclamation for when women get upset that they have to obey their husbands in the law of obedience, so that they would be tricked into still obeying their husbands. When Nelson takes it away, does he? Does he? And then adds polygamy in the law of chastity. But Hinckley diverts it to a more general category of Mormons who don't keep the commandments are the ones to be burned. I didn't see that here. But he's talking about the wicked shall be destroyed. So the wicked are those who don't keep the commandments, obviously. And so he's safe. But he then goes on to further explain that they're the ones who are going to cause it, by saying it will be the most destructive event in the history of humanity. That they themselves are going to cause. And, wait for this, because if you hadn't heard my videos before, tithing, to save you from burning, is going to cause your burning. That's the Judas price they paid. What did you think the money for Russia was? Or China? Shanghai! But he says that will be the day of separation. That burning, that Holocaust, that destruction, the abomination of desolation is the day of separation of the wicked from the righteous. I'm well aware that there are Mormons here in Utah that aren't paying tithing and that aren't practicing polygamy as Nelson ordered you to. Yeah, there are even Trinitarian Christians here, as I'm being threatened by them to deny the Church of Joseph Smith. Any of you remember my video where I went over that? Benjamin Franklin Johnson joined the church and then moved he and his family to Adam-on-Diamond. And there was a hooligan there at Adam-on-Diamond who said, deny Joseph Smith's church. And he says the shotgun or pistol miraculously didn't fire. And I still am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Who was in Adam-on-Diamond? Newell K. Whitney. Right? Section 117. Yeah, Newell K. Whitney. Supposedly, Joseph Smith gave Section 117, supposedly, let my servant Newell K. Whitney be ashamed of the Nicolaitan band and of all their secret abominations. Where was he living? Where was his home? Verse 8, Adam, Ondai, Ammon. The Danites. That was their sacred headquarters. They're the ones who are plotting to overthrow the government. They cooed Joseph Smith's church in 1838. They spelled Ammon wrong. Thanks to the Joseph Smith papers. And so, yes, Adam on Ammon, where Jesus, non-Trinitarian, gets the keys of government from Lucifer at Adam on Ammon. But Mormons will never know. Unless you get the super secret sacred ticket. Yep. Only Mark Skousen got that ticket. Yep. The secret combination of America. The Council for National Policy. This is what's awaiting, guys. This is the danger you face. See, Joseph Smith received inside intel, technically senior, from William Morgan, of this plot to overthrow the government in the latter days, 200 years later. And so the Book of Mormon had to get published to warn America. And they had to code it because they were under threat of their life. I was just threatened by a Danite. With the last video I just posted up, I went and checked the comments. If the church wants you dead, you'd be dead. Really? Wow. Are you sure about that? They ordered my brother to be a hitman to murder me. I used to mock the Russians here in America who are sleeper cells, who are watching and spying on my channel and on my website and emailing me for information and Paleo-Hebrew decipherment. And it was easy to expose them because they pretended to be Mormon and thus pretended to attack me. How dare you say such a thing? This is false. Mormon born and raised. I am the foremost Mormon scholar. I know everything about Mormonism. I don't memorize it, so yeah, you can confound me if you can memorize or quote something from a book that I don't have access to. That's not what I'm referring to. I've got the research materials, but it's all associative memory. But yeah, it's easy to expose a fraud because they don't do their research. Neither do Mormons. But neither does the prophets. If they knew and did the research, they'd know my brother is the last person they'd want to threaten to be a hitman. But yeah, my brother paid upwards of $2,000 for a lawyer to come and get me. And I did my email response. It was just embarrassing because my brother exposed he was being threatened by the church to do this. God. So, such is my life. And nobody wants to believe. Because I didn't show you the documents in this video. Didn't show you the financial receipts. Go bleep yourselves. Seriously.